Today I will show you how to spot a bad language teacher. And this is important because bad teacher is not only wasting your time and money, they also may think that you are not good at languages. They can kill your motivation, and if you've ever seen a person who said, yeah, I don't have talent for languages, most likely they just stumbled upon a bad teacher. I've learned several languages myself, and I've been working as a teacher for almost 20 years, so I know the difference between good teaching and something that just look like a teaching. And today I will give you 3 red flags that your teacher may not be worth your time and money. Let's go. Number 1 is correcting on the spot, and this is the dangerous one because it really looks like a teaching. So imagine the situation, you are saying something, you make a mistake, teacher interrupts you, corrects your mistake, and then you continue. And from the outside, it looks like a teaching. It's apparently what teacher is doing, they correct your mistakes. But in fact, this way of teaching is just showing that teacher doesn't have enough experience and they don't know that this particular method actually doesn't work. Imagine someone is teaching you how to drive a car. What would happen if they would grab your steering wheel every 2 seconds and constantly correct your direction and constantly tell you like brake or gas or whatever? It would be super overwhelming process and most likely you wouldn't learn anything. And this is exactly the same with learning anything, especially languages. When teacher corrects you while you're speaking, you do not memorize what you said wrong, what was the right option there. No, they just interrupts the flow, they correct you, you repeat even the correct version, but it doesn't sync, and then you continue. And this whole process is quite useless. What would be a good alternative here and what good teachers are doing, they wait until you finish the sentence or the exercise, then they point on mistakes that you've made, and then they ask you to do it from the beginning. So for example, you're saying some sentence, you made a mistake in the middle, they don't interrupt you, they let you finish, explain the mistake, and then you start from the beginning. This is how learning works. You make an attempt, you get a feedback, and then you try again. Another way of learning would be the teacher interrupts you once you've made a mistake, and then you start from the beginning. It's usually used when you need to really memorize some things word by word. So you end up in this like constant loop. You made a mistake, again. I call it whiplash style education, and it can be exhausting, but sometimes it's very efficient. But regardless which one of these 2 teacher prefer, they always give you a feedback and explain what was wrong. Because giving back just correct version is not working. They need to create a context around it, so you would memorize not only the correct version of the word or phrase, but also the context around it. And the more context you have around it, the better. And we are moving to number 2, using just a textbook. And this one is a little bit arguable because the only thing it shows is the lack of experience. I'm talking about the situation when teacher is using only a textbook during lessons. So every lesson, especially you see it a lot during courses, every lesson you open a textbook on some specific page, you read some rules, you make some exercises, you even make some group works, you do some listening, speaking, but everything is just based on a book. And there is nothing particularly wrong with this, it's just not as efficient as it could be. You can compare it with visiting a city and hiring a guide to make a tour for you. And if you will go during this tour only through the most well-known monuments, buildings, some churches, then it will be quite a boring tour. Because what you really want, you want to have some variety, you want to see something interesting, you want to end up in some backyard and hear some creepy story what happened there. And the same with language lesson. Of course, you can go just by textbook. It was designed specifically for this purpose. But a good teacher have a variety of different activities they are using during classes. It could be role plays, it could be quizzes, maybe you analyze the fragment from a movie in terms of language and what characters are saying there. There are plenty of different things you can do during the lesson apart from these boring exercises in textbook. And a good teacher over time become this kind of Batman with a belt full of different tools, and they just pull these tools during the lesson and they organize the process in a very engaging, interesting way. So this is not showing the teacher is bad, maybe just an experience, but you should be aware of it. What is dangerous and what is the biggest red flag on this list is not being prepared. This is the most terrible thing that could happen when teacher comes to the lesson not being prepared for the lesson. And I'm not saying that every teacher should always have a strict plan and strict sequence of things that happening during the lesson, but teacher should be ready for everything that happening during the lesson. And the biggest example of it, when teacher gives students exercise, not being aware what this exercise is about. So students start working on it and then they understand that instructions in the textbook and instructions that were given by teacher actually different. It can be really frustrating. Imagine you're a passenger in a taxi and 5 minutes after the ride starts, you understand that your taxi driver have no clue how to drive a car. So they are trying to figure out in a process how to shift gears, how steering wheel works, how they can open windows. It's annoying, it's frustrating, it should never happen. And same here, when teacher comes to the lesson unprepared, it's not because they don't have enough experience. It's not because they are using the wrong textbook. No, they just don't care. And you don't want to have teacher who doesn't care. I've seen it so many times when teacher is sitting there in a class during the lesson and even saying out loud, well, what should we do now? This is the question that should never pop up in teacher's head during the lesson. Teachers should be always prepared. They should have a plan for the lesson. They should be aware about every exercise they are giving to students. They should know what they do in situation when, for example, I don't know, internet goes off or lights goes off. So if you are looking for a teacher, find someone who really cares. So these were my 3 tips how to spot bad language teacher. Check my other video where I explain how to make your language course even better using AI. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. See you later.